Caitlin Clark is driving the WNBA insane. It's to the point that she may need to step away from the WNBA, have a billionaire come in that has the money to prove a point, and say, Caitlin, I'll pay you $50 million just to see if the WNBA can make it without you. Let's go create a complete different league and expose the hell out of the WNBA just to embarrass this Angel Reese girl that Jameel Hill just said she could go down as a Michael Jordan of WNBA.
Caitlin Clark is now being blamed for the WNBA's failed CBA negotiations by the same players and media voices who spent the last 2 seasons treating her like an enemy. And now, rumors are swirling that she's seriously considering taking her talents to Europe if this mess isn't resolved soon. Let that sink in. The league that rode Caitlin Clark's popularity to a $2.2 billion media deal could lose its biggest star because it couldn't stop sabotaging its own success. The panic is real, and it's completely deserved. If Caitlin Clark actually walks away from the WNBA because the league can't get its act together, who's really to blame? The players who resented the spotlight she earned, or the league that enabled the dysfunction and let it spiral out of control?
So the WNBPA is taking to social media, taking to the public. And I want to share with you guys the most recent letter that was issued from the WNBPA. At midnight, the 2020 WNBPA collective bargaining agreement will expire. Despite demonstrating our willingness to compromise in order to get a deal done, the WNBA and its teams have failed to meet us at the table with the same spirit and seriousness. Instead, they've remained committed to undervaluing player contributions, dismissing player concerns, and running out the clock. Today's display of an inflatable rat, a universal symbol of labor protest outside of the NBA store, calls attention to how the league and its teams have handled these negotiations. By delaying and clinging to the status quo, they are jeopardizing the livelihoods of players and the trust and investment of fans, all in the name of preserving.
The WNBA is staring down a scenario it never prepared for, because it never believed it was possible. Caitlin Clark, the player who brought millions of viewers and mainstream attention the league had never seen before, may decide that playing in Europe makes more sense than dealing with the dysfunction currently paralyzing American women's basketball. That possibility has sent shockwaves through league offices, and it should terrify everyone whose livelihood depends on the WNBA continuing to exist.
It is overdue. I feel like the players have lost sense of reality a little bit, because imagine putting up a rat that a lot of unions do when it comes to like schools, construction companies, people that are making a lot less than the kind of money that the WNBA players are making. They got offered a max salary of over $1 million. Their max salary last year was $250,000, and now it's over $1 million. And then on top of that, the average salary is around $500,000. And then you're putting a rat out in public display. I don't know. I feel like you've lost sense of reality a little bit. That's not the real world. The real world does not want to hear constantly about.
Let's establish what's actually happening here. CBA negotiations have completely broken down. The deadline passed with no agreement. Players are being accused of holding out for unrealistic demands, while the union blames ownership for undervaluing player contributions. Free agency is now frozen in uncertainty because no one knows what the next salary cap structure will even look like. And in the middle of this chaos, certain players and media figures chose to turn Caitlin Clark into the scapegoat for the negotiations collapsing. That decision may go down as the single biggest strategic mistake in WNBA history.
People were saying, hey, this could be Caitlin Clark's fault. And before I just flipped and lost my mind, I had to sit and think about it. And you know what, Caitlin Clark, this is all happening and it's your fault. You're the reason. Your greatness, your star power, you are the reason for there being no 2026 WNBA season as of now. Because had you not been such a great player and a big star, these women wouldn't be demanding all of the stuff that they're demanding right now. So yeah, I guess technically it is your fault, I guess. You're too big of.
Caitlin Clark brought the WNBA more attention in one season than the league had generated in the previous decade combined. Her games consistently pulled in millions of viewers. Arenas sold out everywhere the Fever played. Her jersey became the best-selling item in league history. And television networks committed $2.2 billion in broadcasting rights because of the audience growth she created. Every meaningful financial improvement the league experienced can be traced directly to her impact on mainstream interest. So how did many established players respond? With hostility, with jealousy, with physical play that repeatedly crossed the line. Flagrant fouls that would have been called very differently if the target were anyone else. Veterans complained about preferential treatment, while, in the same breath, arguing that Clark made too much money. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. They wanted the financial rewards her popularity produced, while resenting her for being the reason those rewards existed.
Has hostile players, bro. We all witnessed it during the 2025 and 24 season. These players pretty much hate Caitlin Clark with a passion, and I'm here to tell you right now, the hate is growing even stronger because many people in the Players Association and people in the media is blaming Caitlin Clark for potentially being the one holding out when it comes to the CBA not getting done. Now the CBA
talks have collapsed, and suddenly Caitlin Clark is being positioned as the problem, someone supposedly holding everything up. The logic doesn't even make sense. She hasn't made public demands. She hasn't threatened to sit out. She stayed professional while chaos unfolded all around her. But facts don't matter when a villain is needed to distract from institutional failure. So Clark gets blamed for labor negotiations she's barely involved in, while union leadership with obvious conflicts of interest quietly escapes real scrutiny.
She said no thank you to the NBA, offering her a chance to participate in their three-point shooting contest. Now think how amazing that is. If I'd have said to you a couple years ago, yeah, the NBA, to save their All-Star weekend, they're going to ask a WNBA player to join the three-point shooting contest.
Here's where the Europe angle becomes impossible to ignore. European basketball leagues have been courting WNBA stars for years, and for good reason. The money is often better once you factor in housing, transportation, and benefits that American contracts don't include. The lifestyle is more comfortable. The media scrutiny is lighter. And the basketball is still competitive enough to keep elite players sharp, without the dysfunction currently paralyzing the WNBA. For someone like Caitlin Clark, Europe solves multiple problems at once. She escapes an environment where veteran players have openly resented her presence. She avoids the uncertainty of CBA negotiations that could drag on for months. She earns comparable, or better, money without enduring the hostile treatment she faced in Indiana. And she continues playing high-level basketball while her global brand keeps growing through endorsement deals. That's why the panic inside the WNBA is real and entirely predictable. Everyone involved knows what happens if Clark leaves. Television ratings immediately fall back to pre-Clark levels. Casual fans who tuned in specifically for her stop watching. Sponsorship deals signed on projected growth get renegotiated or canceled outright. The financial structure built on assumptions of sustained popularity collapses. Clark leaving wouldn't just hurt the league. It would expose how fragile its recent success actually was. This wasn't organic growth built through collective effort. It was one player capturing mainstream attention in a way no one else had managed. Remove that player, and you're left with a league most casual sports fans still don't care about. If Clark leaves, it evaporates instantly. Owners can point to collapsing viewership and declining sponsor interest as justification for rejecting union demands. Negotiations shift from pay us based on recent growth to we're lucky if this league survives. Union leadership hasn't helped. Nafisa Collier's role as vice president is compromised by her ownership of Unrivaled, a competing league that benefits directly when the WNBA struggles. Her public criticism of league leadership while promoting her own venture has damaged credibility, not strengthened it. And now that Unrivaled's ratings are disastrous, the sudden pivot toward collaboration is transparent and ineffective. Meanwhile, players like Kelsey Mitchell are stuck in limbo, one of the league's best scorers, a crucial part of Indiana's success alongside Clark. Her future should be simple to resolve. Instead, it's hostage to negotiations that have nothing to do with her individual value. Indiana had something real. Clark, Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, Melissa Smith. They made the playoffs. They showed what the league could look like when talent, chemistry, and momentum align. That foundation should have been built on, not thrown into uncertainty because leadership lost focus. Blaming Caitlin Clark for CBA failure is the ultimate act of self-sabotage. She's the reason negotiations matter at all. Without her impact, this would be a discussion about marginal adjustments, not revenue sharing and major salary increases. She created the financial growth that made player demands plausible in the first place. And the response from some players was to turn her into the villain when talks collapsed. The short-sightedness is breathtaking. This wasn't complicated to prevent. Support the person driving your success. Protect your most valuable asset. Address flagrant fouls instead of letting physicality spiral out of control. Don't allow jealousy to create a hostile workplace. None of that required genius-level leadership. It required not being actively self-destructive. Instead, we got 2 seasons of Clark being treated poorly while league leadership did nothing meaningful to stop it. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert offered vague statements about physicality being part of the game. Referees allowed contact that would have drawn suspensions anywhere else. Media members downplayed Clark's impact while promoting players who couldn't draw a fraction of her audience. The message was clear: we'll take your popularity, but we won't respect or protect you. Now that negligence may cost them everything. If Clark decides Europe makes more sense, she's not coming back. Once you leave, momentum shifts. New opportunities emerge. And Clark has global appeal that transcends the WNBA. She doesn't need American women's basketball nearly as much as it needs her. That power dynamic should have been obvious from day one, but jealousy and short-term thinking blinded people to reality. Owners seem to understand this better than players do. They're pushing teams to move forward with free agency preparations despite CBA uncertainty, signaling confidence that a deal will eventually get done, and an unwillingness to let union leverage freeze league operations. Under the expired CBA framework, qualifying offers can still be issued, giving ownership more flexibility than players realize. The players believe they had leverage because of increased revenue and attention. But that leverage only exists if the source of that attention stays. The idea that Clark's departure could threaten the league's survival no longer sounds exaggerated. If she leaves and viewership collapses, the financial model cracks fast. Media deals shrink. Sponsors pull back. Teams start losing money again. That wouldn't be her fault. That would be organizational failure by people who should have known better. And it will be documented. One day, ESPN will make a 30 for 30 about how the WNBA had the biggest star in its history and somehow created an environment so toxic she considered leaving. A case study in jealousy, mismanagement, and squandered opportunity. Europe represents freedom from all of that. No CBA chaos. No resentment. No narratives questioning her value. Just basketball, on clear terms, in competitive leagues, with organizations that actually want her. And the endorsements? Nike, Gatorade, State Farm. Those don't disappear. If anything, her brand grows faster when she becomes bigger than the WNBA itself. That's why the panic is justified. The growth everyone celebrated may have been borrowed, not earned. Take away the engine, and the machine stops. Players who spent 2 seasons resenting Clark are about to learn a very expensive lesson about biting the hand that feeds them. Their earning power exists because she brought money into the league. Their leverage depends on her staying. Clark will be fine. The ones who should be terrified are the veterans whose careers depend on the WNBA surviving without her. And they're starting to realize it.